When we typically think of the word safety in the workplace, what instantly comes to mind? Well, usually it's a hard hat, right? Maybe a high visibility yellow vest or somebody with a clipboard checking off a long list. But today, we're going to completely upend that traditional thinking. We are preparing for a massive paradigm shift in how we view occupational health and safety. We're going to look way beyond the hard hats and uncover the hidden science of how the world's most successful organizations actually manage risk. Okay, let's dive into this. Is safety really just the absence of accidents? Let's say a manufacturing factory goes exactly 365 days without a single reported injury. We would naturally celebrate that, right? But here is the critical question for you. Is that factory actually safe, or did they just get incredibly lucky for a year? You see, most companies operate under a model where the only time anyone even talks about safety is when things go horribly. So, to understand how we move forward, we first need to look at where we've been for decades. Section 1, the traditional model. Understanding Safety 1. This right here is the old-school foundation the entire industry relies upon. It's driven by an absolute obsession with measuring success purely by negative KPIs. Think about things like the number of incidents or lost time injuries. In the Safety 1 model, the core focus is strictly the absence of danger. Success literally means nothing happened. But because the focus is so heavily on errors, employees themselves are inherently viewed as potential sources of error. If an accident happens, the system immediately assumes a human being simply didn't follow the established rules. The perfect real-world example of this in action comes from a Sasol chemical plant in South Africa. They operated with a very strict personal protective equipment or PPE policy. Well, one day, a worker skipped a step in the standard procedure and a minor chemical spill occurred. So how did the Safety 1 model handle this? First, they investigated the mistake. Second, they retrained the worker. And third, they reinforced the existing PPE checks. But notice what's missing from this list. They didn't actually change the underlying procedure itself. The workflow might have been inherently flawed or totally confusing, but Safety 1 rigidly demands strict adherence to the old rules. Why? Because in this model, any human deviation is seen as the primary. All right, let's see if you've been paying close attention to how this traditional model functions with a quick pop quiz. Based on what we just covered, Safety 1 assumes safety is the absence of accidents. Is this true or is this false? I'll give you a second to lock in your answer. And the answer, of course, is true. Under Safety 1, if the spreadsheet says 0 accidents, you are deemed safe, completely regardless of how many near misses you might have just squeaked by. Let's try one more. Safety 1 prioritizes the proactive identification of system weaknesses. True or false? Think about that Sasol chemical plant example. The answer here is false. The traditional model is fundamentally reactive. It waits patiently for an error, a spill, or an injury to actually happen before it takes any action whatsoever to investigate or adjust. And this realization that we can't just wait around for things to break before we fix them is driving a massive evolution. Section 2, the proactive model. Evolving to Safety 2. Now, this isn't just a minor software update to our safety manuals. It is a total ground-up rebrand of how we view human work. While Safety 1 focuses entirely on the absence of danger, Safety 2 focuses on the presence of positives. In this proactive approach, workers are no longer viewed as the problem. Actually, scratch that. They are the ultimate solution. We achieve this by ensuring things go right and treating our frontline workers as the true experts of their environment that they are. Now, what's really interesting about this concept is that to truly understand Safety 2, we have to break human action down into 4 varieties. First, there's work as imagined. This is the rulebook. It's how managers sitting comfortably in an office think the task is done. Then there's work as done. This is the messy reality on the ground, how people actually perform the task in the real world. You also have necessary work, which are the essential bare-bones tasks. And finally, adaptive work, which is honestly the secret sauce. Adaptive work represents those real-time adjustments people naturally make to handle unexpected situations that the rulebook completely failed to account for. Let's ground this theory in a real-world scenario, an airline flight crew. The work as imagined is the standard printed checklist that the airline provides. But work as done is what actually happens in the cockpit when a pilot hits sudden, violent turbulence or unexpected equipment issues. The pilots don't just blindly follow a rigid script while the plane shakes. No way. They adapt. They create safety in that exact moment through their adaptability.
If they just followed the rules blindly without adjusting to real-time conditions, they'd actually be much, much less safe.
Which brings us to the billion-dollar insight that separates these two models: how they view performance variation. Essentially, the gap between the rulebook and reality. In Safety 1, human variation is viewed as a bug. It's seen as the root cause of accidents, and something to be punished or engineered completely out of the system. But in Safety 2, variation is a feature. It is absolutely crucial for adaptability. It acknowledges that conditions change, and human variation is the very mechanism that keeps complex systems running smoothly when the unexpected inevitably happens. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why the proactive model is so incredibly powerful. By actively observing work is done, really watching how your employees naturally adapt and vary their routines to get the job done, management builds deep trust. You can identify hidden risks and bottlenecks way before they ever blow up into accidents. You make future events foreseeable because you're watching how the system actually breathes and moves every single day, not just reacting on the one day that something finally snaps.
Let's see how all of this builds toward the ultimate goal of this entire evolution. Section 3, Building System Resilience, the capacity to adapt and succeed.
You see, moving beyond basic compliance allows an organization to achieve something much more valuable. Resilience is the dynamic ability of a system to succeed under varying, unexpected conditions. I want to say that again deliberately because it's absolutely crucial. A dynamic ability. Resilience isn't just about successfully dodging a crash or preventing a single incident. It is a holistic organizational strength. It's the capacity to absorb shock, adapt on the fly, and continue to thrive even when the environment around you becomes totally chaotic. To anchor this concept, just imagine a hospital emergency department. Out of nowhere, there's a major accident nearby, and a massive surge of patients arrives all at once. If the medical staff only rigidly followed work as imagined, the everyday standard operating procedure, the entire hospital system would immediately collapse under the pressure. Instead, they demonstrate resilience in action. They rapidly reprioritize, triage, they frantically call in extra personnel off shift, and they dynamically adapt their workflows. The hospital remains safe and functional precisely because of human adaptability and teamwork, not because of some pre-written procedure sitting in a dusty binder. Now, looking at all of this, you might be asking, is Safety 1 just entirely wrong? Like, which model is actually right? Well, the objective truth is that Safety 1 still has a very vital place in incredibly high-risk, well-controlled environments. Take a massive operation like Shell Oil, for instance. Strict compliance measures and rigid rules have led to a significant, undeniable reduction in accidents over the decades. When the environment is highly predictable and the cost of an error is literally catastrophic, traditional compliance still serves a very profound purpose. So the crucial point is really understanding when to apply which philosophy in our modern world. To summarize this massive evolutionary shift, Safety 1 reacts to the past, and it focuses heavily on analyzing errors. Safety 2, however, anticipates the future, and it focuses aggressively on ensuring success. For the increasingly complex, fast-paced, and unpredictable modern environments most of us work in today, true safety requires us to evolve way beyond mere compliance. Which leaves us with a final thought to take back to your own workplace. The next time you walk into work, try to consciously shift your mindset. Don't just look around and ask the traditional question, what could go wrong today? Instead, look at your team, look at your systems, and ask, what has to go right for us to succeed today? Because as we've learned through the hidden science of safety, true safety isn't just the absence of accidents. It's the active, dynamic presence of the capacity to adapt. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Stay safe out there, but maybe try doing it just a little differently.